There's a point in some divorce meetings where the client is not really asking for clarity anymore. They're asking for relief. They want the pain to stop, the uncertainty to stop, the spinning to stop. And that's usually when the risk of a bad decision goes way up.
Because what can look like urgency is often overload. What can sound decisive is sometimes just someone trying to get out of that overwhelmed state as fast as possible.
And that's really what advising humans is about, the human side of advice, in moments where the real job is not just solving the numbers. In these mini episodes, we pull out one practical insight advisors and firm leaders can use right away.
And this one matters a lot because we're talking about the decision freeze list and why it can protect a client from making an irreversible move at exactly the moment they're least equipped to see clearly.
The issue is not whether the client is smart enough to decide. It's whether this is the right state to decide from.
Exactly. Clients may want to rush because they want the pain to stop, overspend because freedom feels urgent, or freeze because every decision feels loaded.
And that's why this tool is so useful, because it gives the advisor a way to protect decision quality without making the client feel shut down.
That's why the decision freeze list is such an important tool. It's for the moment when the client is reactive, exhausted, pressured, or saying some version of, "I just want this done." The goal is simple: protect them from big decisions made under overload, the kind that can lead to long-term regret.
I think that's such a helpful reframe. This is not about controlling the client. It's about protecting decision quality while they're flooded.
It is. One of the advisor's biggest jobs is protecting the client from making a big decision in the wrong state. This usually is not about how smart the client is. It's about timing, overload, emotion, and pressure.
Okay, so when should an advisor actually pull this tool out?
I'd use it when the client is moving fast in a way that feels emotional, not clear. When they're reactive, exhausted, under pressure, or using language like, "I just need to decide," "I want it over," or "I'll deal with the consequences later."
So it's really for that moment where urgency is trying to impersonate clarity.
It is. And what it helps prevent is irreversible moves made when the client is emotionally flooded. The big categories are pretty clear: pause major purchases or new debt commitments, large transfers or account changes that aren't required, big lifestyle upgrades meant to prove a new chapter, permanent commitments made just to end discomfort, and decisions the client can't explain back in plain language. That last one is such a good test.
That is a really good test. If they can't explain it back simply, they probably shouldn't be doing it yet.
Yes, because complexity plus emotional flooding is a dangerous combination. Emotional spending and financial freezing are common divorce realities, which is exactly why this tool matters.
Okay, but I can already hear someone thinking, are we just pausing everything?
No, and that distinction really matters. The decision freeze list is not about freezing life. It's about pausing anything irreversible until it's clearer, while still handling what's actually required. There are, however, exceptions. These include immediate safety or essential living needs, required legal deadlines, and critical coverage or access issues.
That's such a useful distinction. We're not freezing, we're filtering.
Right. Filtering is the word. This is where required versus reactive becomes really useful. Required steps move life or legal process forward, while reactive steps often just relieve anxiety temporarily and create regret later.
Okay, so what is the actual advisor language?
Here's an example. We're going to protect you from making any big irreversible decisions before things are clearer. We'll still take care of what's required, but we're pausing anything irreversible until it's clearer. That line is so strong because it offers both movement and protection.
Yeah, that's really good. It doesn't feel restrictive, it feels steady.
And that's the point. Structure should feel kind, not controlling. Protective, not paralyzing. because a lot of clients in divorce already feel like every move is permanent and every mistake will be expensive. The advisor's role is to lower the odds that urgency makes the decision.
So can you give me a quick example of when you'd use it?
Let's say a client is exhausted, angry, and says, "I'm just going to buy a new car and move next weekend. I need a fresh start." That's a perfect decision freeze list moment. You can validate the feeling without endorsing the move. Something like, "I can hear how badly you want relief. Let's protect you from making a big irreversible decision while everything still feels this hot. How about we handle what's required first, then come back to the bigger moves when it's clearer?" That protects the client without making them feel shut down. And it helps catch major purchases, new debt, and permanent commitments being made just to make the discomfort stop.
That example makes it really clear. So the issue is not whether the new car is objectively wrong, but instead, it's whether this is the right moment to decide.
Yes, this tool is really about timing and where the client is mentally and emotionally. If they're steadier later and still want the same thing, great. Then you can look at it more clearly. But early in divorce, the goal is fewer spinning decisions, not perfect decisions, and protecting stability first.
That's so good. So maybe the real value of the decision freeze list is that it gives the advisor a clean way to slow the irreversible stuff down without making the client feel shut down.
It does. It helps the advisor protect the client without adding more pressure. And in a moment like divorce, that can change the whole quality of the meeting.
Sometimes the most valuable thing you can do is not help the client decide faster. It's help them avoid a decision they were never in the right place to make.
And that kind of steadiness matters. It protects trust, it protects stability, and it gives the client a better chance of making the next decision from a clearer place.
If this conversation made you think differently about how to protect a client when urgency starts sounding like clarity, share it with another advisor or leader who wants to bring more steadiness to moments like this. And if you want the full meeting flow, the exact questions, and the practical tools that help you slow the right things down and guide divorce conversations with more clarity and confidence, it's all in the Divorce Transition Playbook Suite for advisors.
Because in moments like this, structure is not about control. It's what helps a client feel safer, steadier, and less likely to make a decision they'll regret.
Thanks for listening to Advising Humans.
We'll see you next time.